So staying grounded and generating confidence. While Legal Stranger Project started winning photo and video and multimedia awards, and I try not to put too much emphasis on this because personally I feel like, you should just do the work that you love, and then that is the reward, that is the award. But I do realize that it was beneficial to my career at the time where I was trying to break into a competitive industry. And by winning these awards, got me invited to places where I could meet influential people at events. One was a National Geographic photo seminar where I happened to meet Pete Souza through my mentor, Susan Biddle, who he was a friend of hers, and we happened to have lunch, and I tried to get through the lunch and not say anything stupid because I was so nervous because this was, my role model, one of my role models. And I thought I made a pretty unremarkable impression. But surprisingly, he called me up a few years later and asked me if I wanted to apply to be an official White House photographer. So you can imagine that I thought it was a joke. I was certain he had the wrong Amanda. And of course, there was only one answer to that question, even though doubt came right away. Am I right for this job? I'm not a political photographer. I'm a documentarian. I don't know. This feels like, am I right for the job? But then, like time does, allows you to connect the dots, and it's like most of the work I've ever worked on is civil rights issues, and to be able to be asked to document the first African-American first family, incredible honor. So your job as a White House photographer is to document the official events of the President and First Lady for history. No pressure, right? So it's also a job that not many people have had. So it's a very unique position. I've probably been about 50 White House photographers total, maybe 15 women ever, So being able to reach out to, Susan Biddle was a mentor of mine. She worked for Reagan and Bush. Be able to reach out to the community of women who had served into this role before was really helpful to me. So this is the first time I ever met Mrs. Obama. And luckily, my colleague documented the moment. So you can see I'm smiling so big I can hardly see out of my eyes. I'm looking up and thinking, wow, you're so smart and pretty and tall. You're so tall, very, very, very tall. I'm what is your name? Your name is Amanda. Your name is Amanda. My name is Amanda. And I think she said something like, welcome to the team. We're so happy to have you. She walked away, and I was like, I don't know what just happened. It was all a blur because I was all swirly and excited, and it was so important for me to have this moment because I would see it over and over again for the next 4 years in other people when they met her for the first time. You getting my point, right? And so that's why I was looking for that raw emotion. And, and it's so easy, it would be so easy for me to just focus on photographing Mrs. Obama's face all the time. But then if I did, I would have missed this moment. It's only her arm, but it's her because of the way the girl's reacting, right? She's having her own swirly moment of excitement. This was the first day that I photographed her. So I shadowed my colleague, Lawrence Jackson, at the White House. Again, a really unique position, so you want to learn how to do it before you're actually doing it. I probably only made 6 to 10 photos this day. So at the White House, we do a lot of photo lines. Before an event, Mrs. Obama President Obama will meet people. They'll take a posed picture. So when I wasn't good at lighting, I had to learn how to get good at lighting right away. So we, she had just met with a couple hundred people. It was a especially long photo line. And then she went into the next room, which is the green room, and had just a few minutes to herself before she went to the next room and delivered remarks. And so I had, long lens on, and I was just looking at her through the lens of my camera in this quiet moment. And I was thinking, I wonder what she's thinking. I wonder if she gets nervous the way that I do before I have to speak in front of a crowd. This was a unifying moment for me because this person I had seen on TV so many times, was a person that was real and had thoughts and emotions and feelings. And, it was this connecting moment that allowed me to ground myself. Because if I had that swirly feeling all the time, I would not be able to take pictures, right? You have to be able to focus and do your job. So, I say, called this generate confidence because I don't know many people that are naturally confident. Like most of the artists that I admire are full of self-doubt, but they're also highly accomplished. And, when I started at the White House, I can't say that I was completely confident because it was a new role and I had to find that in myself. And being surrounded by a team of people that believed in me, that trusted my instincts and my abilities. And then when I had questions, either doing my research and looking back at the archive to see how do you photograph a state arrival so that I was comfortable when that time arrived. Or my first time going overseas, reaching out to a mentor, my mentor Susan, and saying like, what do I need to know about going to China? And having those conversations, being willing that when I don't know what's happening or when I don't have the answers, that I can just ask for them. I could just ask for help. And that was really, that really helped me gain my confidence. So I want you to think about what is your dream job? And who could give you some advice on this career path? What are some active steps that you could take to make it a reality? Dream job? Anyone want to share your dream job? Sure. So, you have a big smile back there. I think you want to share your dream job.
I'm Kirsten, and the last few years have kind of led me to this place to think about this specifically, and I think it's directing film, and I think it's probably a combination of both fiction and documentary. So,
excellent. So who could give you some advice?
Well, your advice so far has been really helpful.
I'm glad.
Thanks for teaching today.
Yes, of course. There are a couple filmmakers in the room, and I think you might be sitting next to one, right?
Yeah.
So here's our community here. We can start here.
I'd be happy to talk to you.
And what are some active steps that you think you could take to help get you closer to this goal?
I think it's the prioritizing and the creating time and honoring that time. And just getting over that first step. Like when you said you do the hardest things or the highest priority things first thing in the day and making that the routine.
Yeah.
I don't remember which writer it was, but he said if the hardest thing you do in the morning is eat a frog, then everything else is easy, right? So thinking about what's my frog and eat it first.
That's a great analogy.
And then the rest will fall into place. So, yeah, I think it's just stepping off the ledge a little bit.
Well, that's great. We're all supporting you in that effort.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else want to share a dream job?
Hi, I'm Carlos.
Hi, Carlos.
Well, I jumped from filmmaking into portrait photography. And I'm more interested right now in, I want to photograph cultures from different parts, but I want to do it in a fine art type of portrait photography.
Okay.
And I don't know who to reach. I know some people on Instagram, but it's so distant, sometimes to know how to get the funding or go to these places or locations to, have your in to these type of communities. So.
And are there these communities locally that you can start with that? Like.
Yeah, I'm doing the research in that. That's where I am. I'm from Mexico, so for me, it's, I moved here and I'm like, oh my God, there's so many things I could do down there. But, the plane ticket and everything is.
Right. So one fascinating thing that I discovered while living in Washington, D.C. was that there was the largest Ethiopian population outside of Ethiopia. So I think sometimes we think we have to travel to a faraway place to tell stories about culture, but they're right in our backyards, We can, whatever community it is that you're interested in, we were talking about this yesterday, is food. Food is a great way to connect with people. I want to go into a certain neighborhood, and I want to hang out at this coffee shop and get to know people, or experience a culture through the food, and just sit and ask questions and see what comes up. So I think when you don't have the funding, there's a way for you to start locally so that you don't need that expense. And you said about reaching out to people on Instagram, it feels so distant. That is a way that people connect now. And so sometimes I, early on, had trouble wanting to reach out to people because they're like, well, what if they say no? And it's like, yep, that's an option. They might say no. They might say yes, right? So it's like, it's going to be the two things, and there are going to be people that are busy in their own personal life, and like not to take that personally, but just keep trying, because if you keep knocking on the doors, eventually somebody's going to open it and be like, "Come on in, Carlos." So I hope that helps.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So my dream job, I guess, to be honest, it's kind of what I'm already doing. So food blogging, but to be very successful at it would be my dream. And encouraging people to eat more veggies and things like that, and just to eat more healthily is kind of my motivation behind it. And I think, again, listening to your advice has been really useful. And Carrie in the audience actually gave me some really good advice on creating recipe videos and things like that.
Excellent.
So that's been really helpful. But I think just getting advice from people who are already kind of on that trajectory, who are perhaps already doing it successfully, would probably be the most helpful thing. So I think I'm going to go away from this and actually try and reach out to some people who are already successful bloggers and speak to them and get advice.
Excellent.
And just, generally. Really.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And let me ask you, what would you define successful?
I knew you were going to ask that. That's the tricky thing, isn't it? I mean, for me, financial stability is important, but from the age of about 3, I always wanted to just do a job I loved. So, to be honest, it sounds really cliched, but I already kind of feel successful because I'm happy each morning.
I'm so glad you said that, right? Yes, because you're already
learning.
doing it. You're already doing what you love.
Yeah.
You're already successful.
Yeah, and it feels so good. It feels so much better than any other job ever did.
That's great.
Yeah.
So now you can put aside perfectionism. You can put aside success. Like, I'm already living it. Now all I have to do is do.
Yeah.
Right? I just have to keep taking those steps and reach out to people that you admire, and build that community. And I could see you easily being up here and speaking about healthy eating, So thank you.
Thank you.